G'day everyone. You know, more and more brands are starting to look into and offer watches that are made from recycled or sustainable materials. And while this isn't a brand new trend, I figured I'd finally have a look myself and get a piece of the action. So if every second counting, let's hurry on and review the Luminox Eco Tide. So here's a specs list of all the details, including physical dimensions, weight, water resistance, crystal, movement, and price. And if you like my video content and haven't had a chance till now, a like and subscribe always helps. And the first thing I want to address is the case of the Eco-Tide. According to Luminox, it's comprised of 100% recycled plastic materials that would have ended up in the ocean, and also includes its trademark application of Carbonox for added durability. The matte grey overall fit and finish looks rugged and utilitarian, but it feels smooth and free of imperfections and fairly lightweight at only 69 grams, which belies its large appearance. And on a side note, I did run this thing against a brick wall by accident with some force, and despite this, the worst it got was this microscopic scratch, so I can vouch for its toughness. Flipping the Eco-Tide over, and you'll find a screw-down case back with a fair bit going on. Around the case back circumference, you have the standard specifications list, but towards the middle you have this laser-etched wave pattern representing the ocean, with a Luminox logo and a hashtag Tide print front and center. An impossibly tiny text under each of these is Swiss made and ocean materials respectively. And running above and below these centerpieces are every second counts and no planet B. Depending on your beliefs, the whole message could be perceived as either conscientious or hokey, but it's anything but a boring caseback. And the etching feels deep enough where it should stay present for a good while to come. The 60-click unidirectional bezel is also made from the same recycled materials. And truth be told, it's one of the best bezels I've ever operated. The toothy edges are firm enough to get a good grip on them, but they don't feel sharp or jagged, so the rotation process is a comfortable experience for your fingertips. The turning action has a bit of a flat ring to it, but it doesn't sound cheap or tinny, and all the markers line up in their right place. There is a tiny bit of wobble, but you really have to fiddle with it to notice, and there's no back play here, so it will remain where it's supposed to. There is also the inclusion of a tritium pip for orientation at the 12 position. The crown is signed and has a neat red strip running around its midriff for an extra splash of colour, and the crown guards provide actual protection for it while still being out of the way enough to grip and adjust it when you need it. Setting the date and time is a straightforward process. The crown and hand adjustment spins a little bit on the loose side during operation, but it doesn't feel cheap or flimsy at least. But the task of unthreading and rethreading the crown on this Eco-Tide is one of, if not the easiest I've ever done on a watch at this price. Moving towards the dial, and on first glance you'd be forgiven for thinking it's just another blue dial watch. But when you linger at it, even for just a few seconds, a lot of details start to emerge. The raised chapter ring helps to give the dial a sunken appearance, which adds a layer of visual interest and just makes it look bigger and broader in general. The chapter ring itself has two levels of markings, with a tritium tube at each even numbered cardinal point and white bolded squares at every odd point on top, and directly underneath is a standard printed minute track. On the actual dial edges you have Arabic numerals at every hour point, save for the free indice which is replaced with a cutout for the date complication. I will quickly mention that while this complication does have a no frills look, it still has a neat and respectable appearance thanks to the white printed frame surrounding it, and its sizing is adequate for general checking. Underneath the 12 indice you have the black, white and red Luminox shield logo looking proud and colourful, and above the 6th position you have a red recycle logo with 200 meters printed underneath that. Rounding out the remaining text on the dial is Swiss made between the 6th indice, along with T25 between the 4 and 5, indicating the life expectancy of the tritium tubes. These tubes are also found on the hour and minute hands, and each one has a slightly different appearance, with the hour looking more sword-shaped and the minute going more of a syringe theme. The other more obvious difference is the color contrast, with white on the hour and orange on the minute, adding legibility. The white seconds hand also takes a cue from its minutes cousin by adding an orange tip for easier identification. Length and size wise they're just right, being easy to read and reaching out to the respective markers. And rounding out the overall nicety of the style is the use of the wave pattern on the background of that blue dial, giving the impression of having the ocean's tide on your wrist. And all of these nice colours and effects on the dial make it pleasant and interesting to look at, and a great watch to wear for summer occasions and at the beach. And for added protection you have a sapphire crystal that also appears to have some anti-reflective properties, so even in harsh lighting conditions you'll still be able to read that dial with ease. As a watch made from recycled ocean plastics, the Eco-Tide unsurprisingly boasts 200 meters of water resistance, So you could wear this on diving expeditions, although it'll hold up just as well if you only plan to go swimming with it. The lunar method by those tritium tubes mentioned earlier is a positive thing overall. I will admit that this is the first time I've ever owned a watch that uses tritium, and if I'm being completely honest, there are some limits in its application here. As the tubes are only present on every even cardinal point, it does limit the overall appearance in the dark and will force you to check the time a bit more carefully to accurately measure it. And unlike some other watches that use luminescence, the tritium's overall brightness isn't that great. It's an acceptable glow that can still be read fairly easily, but don't expect it to light up a room. But unlike Lume, the tritium's brightness will keep on shining at that same level throughout the night and never lose its strength, so you'll never have to worry about guessing the time when you pick this thing up at 4 in the morning. And with the inclusion of an orange tube on the minute hand and at the 12 indice, it greatly helps with orientation and adds a nice color contrast in the dark. Although as far as strength goes, the tube in the bezel leaves a lot to be desired. And that leads me into the mixed feelings about the Ecotide. The supplied recycled materials strap has a very synthetic nylon feel to it. On first glance, the quality and fit on the strap looks great, and while it is soft to touch, it certainly doesn't feel flimsy. Better still, the softness comes with the added benefit of barely any break-in time, so after about 2 or 3 wears, it should conform nicely to your wrist. And given that the Ecotide is a dive/beater watch, the strap material is the ideal choice. For an added niceness touch, you have the Luminox logo on the buckle and printed on the inside of the strap, along with a generous amount of notch holes for fitting flexibility. So why mixed feelings? Well, I found that it has a tendency to chafe on the wrist if you wear it for several hours, especially in humid weather. Which is a shame because it's a great strap otherwise. The 24mm lug width isn't the most common measurement for sourcing aftermarket straps, but you should still find some out there with ease. And with quick release spring bars on this strap, at least the swapping process will be much easier. The Ecotide's dimensions are on the beefier side, although one thing I appreciate is that thanks to the larger diameter and shorter stubbier lugs, it gives the watch a more compact and balanced look, so it doesn't look overly gigantic or absurd on wrist. Regardless though, it is still a bigger watch, so if you're smaller wristed or want more modest proportions in your wristwatch, you'll want to look elsewhere. Unsurprisingly, the movement is quartz, a Swiss Ronda 515 to be exact. It's still a solid movement though, and what you'd expect to get at this price point. Nothing great, but nothing bad either. And while I do love the colorways on that dial, one part that is a bit cheesy is that red recycle logo in the middle. If you find the environmental message a bit too much, at least on the case back you won't notice it while you wear it, but that logo on the dial will remind you of that. It's not too in your face at least, but I feel Luminox could have done without it. As for my negatives, there is one I'll save for the end. But as you've noticed by now, this isn't really a go anywhere, do anything piece. Much like my Seiko I reviewed a while ago, the Ecotide will be a great watch to wear when water is involved or if you're going somewhere casual, but outside those environments, you'll probably yearn for something else. And to be honest, that's one of the only negatives I have to say about the Ecotide as a watch. So when I conclude my videos, I usually say whether a watch is worth purchasing or not. And the Ecotide as a whole is very impressive and a piece I would happily recommend if you're looking for a budget Swiss dive watch that has the added bonuses of tritium, sturdiness, and environmental conscientiousness. But my biggest concern with the Ecotide is the pricing and its wild extremes. I bought mine from an online retailer and only paid a pinch under $160 for it, and with a discount code that brought it well down to $140. And at that price, the Ecotide is well worth it. But the prices from other vendors tend to be much higher, starting from roughly $440 and working up to around $550. And if I paid those higher prices for the Ecotide, I would say it needs to offer a lot more to be worth it. So my advice, and this applies for any watch purchase, is to always shop around for the best price, especially in this instance if the price difference is several $100s. If you currently or have previously owned an Ecotide, or anything Luminox, I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. But that's it for now, and thanks for watching, eh?